right. Now, I got to check out a comic book. We've talked about the Spirit before, the character. One of my favorites.
In one of the worst movies.
Oh, yeah. See, that's the problem.
Yeah.
Most people know it from that movie.
No, but it's a classic book, you know
it's
what I
like
mean?
comic book
Yeah,
history,
classic
man.
comic
Yeah.
book from Will Eisner, classic comic book creator, notorious old school casual racist.
Yep.
And that really bled through into the works, which the Spirit unfortunately became known for over time. Well, the Spirit character has carried on, and different generations of writers and artists have tried to make it less racist and more poignant.
It's about time,
yeah.
You might want to, grow out of that.
Well, what sucks is I've always loved this character before I quite understood that, oh yeah, they're mocking my people and everything we stand for. It's like, wow, that's horrible, because all I saw was this badass story about this, detective who's kind of goofy in one page, and the next one he'll be like the most gangster fighter you'll ever come across. And I'm like, this is a great dichotomy. Yeah. Yes, I was using words like dichotomy when I was 4.
Hell yeah.
I wasn't, but I could have been. But the Spirit is a character that's one of the lesser known, one of the more classic masked men, mystery men.
Yeah.
Masked men of mystery.
Yeah, yeah.
People know along the same lines as the Phantom, the Shadow.
The Shadow, yeah.
I'd like to put a Green Hornet in there.
Yeah, it's got the same kind of like mask thing,
Yeah,
like
exactly.
literally masked man.
Similar
Zorro.
era.
Yeah, and this latest book is The Spirit, The Corpse Makers. It's by, I actually have to go to my notes here because this is new writer, Francesco Francavilla. He's also the artist on this sucker. So the art actually was pretty nice, and it really went well with the story. I'm usually pretty hard on these things because there's a long history here. These aren't just I made up a new character and I wrote a crappy story, or this is some character they threw at me. It's like a side story thing. These are characters with history. They've been around a long time, and you want to see them done well. You want to see them well presented, and you want to see a good story.
And Eisner is a classic. He they named comic book awards after him.
Yes, they do.
He was also one of the first guys to find a way to monetize comic books outside of the DC before when Marvel was timely and everything. He did Spirit independently. He monetized that on his own by selling them direct to the newspapers.
Which is ballsy. That usually doesn't work for people. The only ones I can think of that it really worked out for is him.
Yep.
I forget who originally owned Shazam, Captain Marvel.
Yeah, that's right.
Fawcett City. Yes,
that's right. The two of them, and they were contemporaries. They were contemporaries of each other.
The last time it happened was Black Lightning.
Yep.
And we saw that panned out. Now it's owned and by DC. They keep a tight grasp on that, and mocked by Sinbad, famously in an SNL skit. You can't get lower than
Sinbad.
It's true. When Sinbad takes you down, you're.
Yeah, that's it.
The daggone shame. But the Spirit was spared that, despite having a horrible, horrible movie by Frank Miller, and the Octopus played.
Played by Sam Jackson, right?
Yeah, looked incredible. Ridiculous.
It was just bad. It was bad. It was real bad. I don't remember anything about it. I remember they kept trying to kill each other, and then they were making jokes about how bad the movie was. I think during the movie,
I brought a bunch of people to see it. I've had several moments in life where I've really touted something that I know is just awesome, and I'm like, oh man, they're making a movie of this. You gotta come and see it. It's gonna be awesome. I did that with Beowulf when they did that animated one with Angelina Jolie.
That wasn't so bad.
It wasn't, but dude, no. I hyped it up. I was like, yo, Beowulf is this old classic story, man. You have not seen such, all the action stories you know of. You were a fan of Spartans, came from Beowulf. You were a fan of ninjas, came from Beowulf. You were a fan of, knights in shining armor, just sword fighting and all this stuff. Dog, Beowulf all day, son. And cats went to the movie excited, and I'm like, we sit up front. Just want to make sure we get that prime view. You're going to see some hardcoreness. And then the first time Grendel stepped on, it was this annoying guy, looked like some elf from the old Terry Toons with gout and the friggin' conch thing in his ear. I was like, I'm sorry. I apologize. The Spirit was one of those too. I'm like, everybody, this right here is a classic comic action. You're going to see the greatest detective work ever. You're going to see the most awesome fight scenes. You're going to see the greatest relationship between a hero and sidekick. It's all going to mesh together. And it's going to be amazing. It's going to blow your mind. And it fooled me for a bit. It starts off with, I remember, just this awesome fight scene. Well, the seeming awesome fight scene where it's he's chasing a guy. It's okay, generic chase scene. Catches him, and they're fighting in the rain. Spirit takes him down with some ill MMA hold, and then just ding him in the face. He's like, okay, cool, he's punching him. And then, like, 15 seconds later, still punching him in the face. And I'm like, that's the spirit I know. Yes! And then the movie continued to suck. And I was just let down, like, gradually. Now, mind you, like, when I said beautiful, I've never seen such, like, photogenic shots of Eva Mendes's butt. You know, and
I mean, that counts for something.
Totally.
You know?
Totally. That's the only reason. Wait, we've gotten so far off the point of this review. I was talking about the spirit, the corpse makers. The actual plot of this was a series of unexpected disappearances and death hit Central City. Initially, these cases seemed purely unrelated, no apparent connection. But the victims make it easy for the police to just write them off as simple runaways and homeless people and such. However, the connections start to turn up when EB's cousin goes missing. EB is the spirit's sidekick. Now the spirit is on the case. Will he be able to track down what's going on with the homeless people? Will he be able to save the day? Will he be able to recover EB's cousin? We'll find out. The spirit. And yeah, it seems pretty simple. There's a case, people go missing, and what's going on. But it's beautifully drawn, which is one thing that'll keep your attention. And then the story itself, even though it's just kind of like, you know, starting to catch wind, is, I think, really well done. Like, they're paying homage to the spirit and his relationship with the police, his relationship with the sidekick, and they're creating the world itself. You know, I suddenly care about the cousin. I want to find out why this homeless man went missing, you know? And I want to see how the story progresses. That's the main thing you hope from a book, to capture your attention and then keep you wanting more. And this one's done it so far. I appreciate the fact that reverence is being done to the character. I also really appreciate that the same racism isn't injected in this one, even just for, you know, maintain that historical posterity, like bull stuff. Okay. I want to keep reading this. It's called The Spirit. It's actually out now. The Spirit, The Corpse Makers. I highly recommend it. Let's not go highly just yet, but yeah, check this one out. You know, find it on the shelf, pick it up.
Does it take place in contemporary times, or is it like time? Like, is it 30s and 40s?
It's in the 30s and 40s. They kept it in that same.
Very cool. Mm-hmm. All right, I'll definitely check that out. I mean, all, you know, weird casual racism aside, which is it's so deeply complicated because so much Will Eisner stories. Have you read any of the stories about the tenements, the graphic novels that he wrote about the tenements in the Bronx?
No,
at all?
What do you got?
So I don't remember the name. You know, I'll shoot it to you another time. But
I said, what's the name?
Oh God. So Will, when Will Eisner got older, many of his comics were actually meditations on the Jewish American experience. Mm-hmm. He grew up a non-assimilated Jewish man in the early 20th century through the mid, through just like all the old comic
like
dudes.
Richard Pryor.
Yeah, exactly. You know, he grew up. You know. But so much of his meditations are on his own Jewish identity and being the other in white spaces because around that time Jews were not considered white.
No, very true.
So in taking on this kind of like this casual, you know, anti-black racism, it was almost in a way for him to assimilate because
that's kind of a daggone shame because that's along the same lines as.
It's really interesting, but then like in his other books, like in the biographical books, he distances himself from these kind of characters, and actually, you know, provides like full fleshed out characters in the story of this tenement in the Bronx, which goes from, you know, being like farmland to a Jewish tenement to, you know, it's in the South Bronx, so it goes to like the Hispanic neighborhood and a black neighborhood and Hispanic neighborhood, and then like all of those things until like it kind of moves into like it ends in like the 80s. So.
Well, no, I understand that. You have to keep in mind the actual times that he, you know, actually lived to.
Absolutely.
So we can't say he lived to see, a black president took office and he was fully enlightened by the time.
Exactly.
Like, you know, he'd have been 163.
And absolutely not like excusing any of this stuff, but like there are so many layers about his life experience that he brings into these things that.
Well, and things are progressive. Yeah. You have to think about the autobiography of someone like one of my favorite authors, Robert Heinlein,
Yeah.
Ends at a certain point, and even though he considered himself enlightened to it,
Mm-hmm.
and to be in all fairness, he really was enlightened and progressive for his time. And if you look at the transition of his work from when he started writing and really wrote like radio serials and just random sci-fi stories for magazines, things you'd find in Boy's Life, and then his later work, which was all anti-church, anti-establishment, science fiction, deep into progressive women, minority characters, rampant orgies.
But
he really got into that stuff.
But it's deeply misogynist.
Well, yes, but the point I'm getting at is it goes to a certain point, and then that was his lifetime.
Yep.
It ended before, progression in its very core is just that. It progresses.
Absolutely.
So people learn more as time moves on.
Yep.
He just didn't live long enough to get to that point.
Yep. And
same thing with Eisner.
And same thing with the Spirit, because he didn't write the Spirit to that point. So we still have this step and fetch character that's like a sidekick, and he never gets to progress until Eisner gives up the character, and it's been through so many permutations. So.
Yes, and I'm happy. I'm glad in this new series, it's not just, well, I'm going to drive you where you need to go, boss.
Yeah.
It's, I'm going to see my cousin. He's in town. We're going to take in a show.
Yeah.
But maybe Broadway. We'll see.
Yeah.
Cool. And this is the black character. They didn't like, yo, dog, I'm going to, take my cousin in town. Stuff. None of that. They actually sound like human beings, and they're written like human beings.
No Sweet Christmas.
No sweet. Oh, stop it. Stop it. All right, so we've dawdled long enough.